Well, Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years.
In his first year, Trump's approval rating dipped as low as 33%. This is supposed to be his honeymoon phase. 33%. Syphilis polls higher.
Now listen, I've been covering Trump for, well, too long. I'm actually only 21. This is just the toll it takes. Anyway, in that time, I've come across some who have eviscerated the man with facts and figures.
He said the 2020 election was totally rigged. We know that's a lie. He said his opponents tried to rig it this time. That's more nonsense. He said California Democrats tried to cheat and that he thinks he would have won the state this time if it were not rigged. Well, it was a free and fair election in that state as well. He lost by more than 3 million votes. He claimed he won Alabama this time by 48 points, or like between 30 and 31. And then on immigration, he spoke of the jails of every country in the world being emptied into this country. He has never provided any evidence for his familiar claim that foreign countries are deliberately emptying prisons to send people here as migrants. He boasted of building 571 miles of border wall. Official statistics show it was actually 458 miles.
Some with his own words.
Trump cannot finish sentences. On Monday, you pointed out that Biden gets people's names wrong. You don't point out that Trump gets even more people's names wrong. Last month, he said he passed a dementia test. He got the name of the doctor wrong. Instead of saying Ronnie Jackson, he said Ronnie Johnson. He's confused Obama and Biden. He confused Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. He's confused Iraq and Syria. He confused World War II with World War III. He's confused the leader of Turkey with the leader of Hungary. He's confused the leader of China with the leader of North Korea. He called Tim Cook Tim Apple, right? And he even got his own running mate's name wrong. He called J.D. Vance J.D. Mandel a couple of years back. So Donald Trump gets way more names wrong. He's way more incoherent. He's way more ignorant.
Which one of you?
Yes,
which
Biden
one of the two of them? Which one
Trump
of the
is
two?
much worse.
Which one of the two of them would you trust to drive you home?
Which one of the two of them would I trust to drive me home? I don't give a damn. That's not the question. Which one of the two of them would I trust to run the country without being a criminal, an autocrat, or an ignoramus? Joe Biden, of course.
And some with a few choice words.
Dear President Trump, listen very carefully. Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integrated part of our country. It is not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, fuck off.
But I will say this from Canadian comedian Ron James is Shakespearean in its rhythm, Scottish in its cynicism, and succinct in its depiction of the man many millions decided would be a good fit for the second crack at fascism, just to ensure we go full bore this time around. But anyway, it's worth every second.
In his first year, Trump's approval rating dipped as low as 33%. This is supposed to be his honeymoon phase. 33%. Syphilis polls higher. But none of this matters to his base, because the rot goes far deeper than this bejeweled, vacuous charlatan they elected, who, when he's not browbeating the needy from his bully pulpit, is barking a bogus promise of salvation to his legions of lost and defiantly blind disciples, all praying for deliverance from their fast food, hate-fueled, boob tube, fake news, marginalized lives of angry alienation, everyone mesmerized by the myth of American exceptionalism and its attendant infantile magical belief they'll finally get what they've been told they deserve, regardless of living in a nation where their hope has long since been broken, courtesy of a rigged system of casino crony capitalism run by the very kind of creatures who crawl from the swamp the mutant they voted for claimed he'd drain. And it's all enabled by a ruthless collection of diamond-crusted, helmet-haired, fundamental Christian fascists whose fealty to the man from Galilee they worship makes a mockery of everything he stood for, which, if I recall Sunday school, never, ever, once involved Jesus grabbing Mary Magdalene by the... But perhaps I wasn't paying attention.
And this comes as Trump continues to attack our neighbors to the north, both with hyperbolic diatribe and with very real economic threats that would damage the US economy.
Canada, you're a different country, and I love Canada. I have so many friends in Canada, you can't count them. Wayne Gretzky, I love Wayne Gretzky. I love so many people. I love their tradition. I love their ice hockey. But why are we paying $200 billion a year, essentially in subsidy to Canada. Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it. The Canadian citizens would have a much lower tax rate. They'd have much better medical, and they'd have military protection like nobody can have.
The United States runs a deficit with Canada only because of energy, because of U.S. imports, largely of oil, and as well as electricity. So that's what runs a deficit versus Canada, where that's not being ripped off. In fact, we sell that energy, particularly the oil, at a discount to world prices to Americans. So perhaps we should ask for that subsidy back.
But as he continues to prove, he cares not about the promises he made on his campaign. I mean, who needs to bring groceries down, even though he promised they would on day one, when you get the Gulf of America?
Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down, and we will make America affordable again. We're going to make it affordable again.
Yeah.
And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation is back. No, think of it. Inflation's back. And they said, oh, Trump, I had nothing to do with it.
Last week, Trump issued a new executive memo calling for, quote, fair and reciprocal trade tariffs on all major U.S. trading partners, a move that has sparked a broader economic conversation on the confrontation it would cause with our allies. And on top of these reciprocal tariffs, Trump also plans to roll out auto tariffs, which he says could also be implemented as soon as April 2nd. Auto tariffs would likely be especially harsh on Canada, which Trump claims has, quote, stolen the US auto industry, threatening tariffs of 50 or even 100%, which promoted an immediate response from Canadian leaders.
Donald Trump is acting more like an internet troll than a president of the United States. I don't think that's the way you act as a president, and it's certainly not the way you interact with other countries. But as I mentioned, I've dealt with bullies throughout my life, and I know what it's like. Even if you're the smaller guy, even if you're outnumbered, you got to make it not worth the bully's while. Bullies only understand strength. They only understand strength and pain. So you have to make sure you're standing up and showing that if you want to take that decision to fight with us, to pick a fight with us, it's going to hurt you too. And so I want to issue a challenge actually on your show today. For anyone that's running for prime minister, I've committed that Canada would respond with retaliatory tariffs. If Trump imposes tariffs on Canada, we should respond with tariffs. That's how you respond to a bully. You got to respond with strength. So my challenge is for anyone else out there who's running to become prime minister, I want you to also commit so that Donald Trump knows that anyone in Canada who gets that position will respond with a tariff, with tariffs in kind, fighting fire with fire, showing that we're ready to stand up to a bully.
You posted a very direct warning. You're saying this here, but on social media yesterday, you spoke directly to Trump. Let me just play it for anyone who hasn't seen it.
I have a message today for President Trump. If you force our hand, we will inflict the biggest trade blow that the United States has ever endured.
What does that trade blow look like if you're the next prime minister?
Dollar for dollar retaliation. Any tariff imposed on Canada, Canada will respond to, and our response is going to be smart and targeted. The tariffs the U.S. is threatening Canada with are across the board, and they're going to hurt you. Take aluminum. Aluminum is basically electricity in solid form. And in imposing a 25% tariff on Canadian aluminum, you're hurting yourselves. You're putting a 25% tax on electricity, and you actually need more electricity today in this AI race with China.
Yep.
Our retaliation is going to be a lot more surgical than that. We are going to go after American stakeholders who matter to the White House. I have proposed a 100% tariff on all Teslas. I am calling on all the countries that are affected by this tariff to join us, and our retaliation will target specific Trump constituencies. Another group that we're going to go after is Wisconsin dairy farmers. We know how important they are for the president, and we're not going to let them sell their products in Canada anymore.
But of course, what this very stable genius seems to be misunderstanding is that even US-made cars contain foreign-made parts, with a huge amount coming from Canada and Mexico. Parts are often shipped back and forth across our continental borders several times before a complete completed car rolls off the line. So while he may think imposing these tariffs would force the hand to make cars here, those made in American cars would be up there with the price of eggs after all those heavily tariffed foreign parts come into play.
Egg prices are soaring. Last week, the average wholesale price for large white shell eggs reached $8 for a dozen. This is wholesale. Retail, it's higher than this. The previous all-time wholesale price was $5.46 back in December 2022. How much are eggs retail right now?
Right now, probably $11, $12, $13, $14. Which ones you want? Brown eggs, you want free range eggs, etc., etc. But they're in the low teens right now.
I've never seen anything like that. Well, $14 for a dozen eggs.
They're killing the chickens.
Yeah,
and
because of bird flu, right?
Because of bird flu. Now let's ask the $64 trillion question. Is this another COVID crisis to greet President Trump?
Wow.
And while economic experts across the world continue to warn off the US against starting a trade war with one of their oldest friends, strongest allies, and greatest trading partners, Trump remains steadfast in his approach, which makes takes like this all the more accurate as it is hilarious.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.